So layoffs at EA finally hit. They're going through a restructuring for the BioWare team after the disastrous launch of the Veilguard. And let's talk about where that studio is and if they're going to see more layoffs. So my name's Ojiro. I work in game development. I initially made a video on this, seeing the reports of less than 100 staff at Ubisoft, thinking that that was limited to just their Edmonton studio. They have two studios, one in Edmonton, Canada, and another in Austin, Texas. And I thought, oh, that's still too many people. However, that is incorrect. It is less than 100 people across both locations, which was going to make it one of the leanest AAA titles in modern history. Right now, I think the smallest major title that I know of is Helldivers 2 that had 120 staff. It took them about 8 years to make the game. But given that most studios use 2 to 600 people to make these games, or in the case of Blizzard, like 3,000, this is extremely lean for a team. Now we had, through these initial reports that were coming out, dozens got laid off, dozens got moved over to other EA titles because it's all under the same umbrella. And they are leaving it, like the big ticket items were writing team's gone. That whole team has just been axed. That team's terrible. They can't do writing to save their lives, and they can't seem to understand why people don't want to hear about their therapy sessions. However, if we go over some other articles that I clearly didn't have good reading comprehension for, they make it clear that this is less than 100 people for the whole studio. The studio is effectively on its last legs. If this were any other studio other than BioWare, I would imagine that EA would have shut them down, but they are doing a last hurrah to try and get Mass Effect out the door. I hope it's a good game. I don't have any faith in BioWare given what it has become. The writing team's gone, which is good, but the design team that were actually making a lot of the game as well, that we're putting forth, like, you know, where the branching goes, it was a straight line for Veilguard. You started the game, all of your choices are like kind of whatever. You got two endings. You've got your bad ending where everyone lives if you complete all their side quests. Then you've got the good ending, the canon ending, where you don't do these optional side quests and all the characters die. And given that Dragon Age is dead, that is the real ending of the game. There are people that are not taking this too well. I want to point out, so this is for the target audience of Veilguard. You've got, in terms of a breakdown of the United States at least, 93% of the population is they're normal people. And then the remaining 7 falls under the LGBTQ umbrella, right? Veilguard's written for them. It is shamelessly pandering to a minority, where this minority, for a lot of them that are terminally online, they treat a lot of this as, they see enemies everywhere. They see, if you don't adopt some kind of weird pronoun that they've picked out for themselves, then you hate their existence and are trying to erase them. There's a lot of mental illness that gets propagated in that space right now. So this is one person that claims to be a huge fan of the series, and this is their target audience for Veilguard. Let's just listen to kind of the thought process for this individual, right? It's like,
because Veilguard chose to represent, I guess. I don't know. However, it's just a lot. It's just a whole lot. Because now I'm in a position where I don't think BioWare is on my side. And that's I'm in a position now where for the first time I don't think BioWare has the right intentions.
All right. So this is not a uncommon thought for some people on the internet, but it is severely unrealistic because at the end of the day, if you're making games for a big business, you are making games to make money so that you can stay employed. Uh, the writing team over at BioWare, they forgot this fact. They were writing for this minority here where they are not representative of your customer base. And to like for all of these companies, there may be individuals in there that care about you, but by and large, they care about keeping their employment and they care about being able to provide for their families and not becoming unemployed, right? This is a business. And for BioWare, which is a company under EA, to make this thing where you're like, oh, well, they don't care for me. They don't care for any of us, realistically. We're talking about EA here. So I'm going to point out this is EA's stock chart over the past month. You see this huge drop here. Most of their money for EA comes from loot boxes. They try and get kids to buy in to the gambling life cycle by going through their sports apps, or their sports games rather, to try and get them to make all their money. They dropped because they saw declines. Like, I'm not going to read all this. You can talk to Grok how much it makes. I don't need to go over it here. But they had generally been growing quarter over quarter, and they had a decline for this past report, which caused a huge sell-off in the market. You think a company that is trying to basically sell gambling, that is selling games that are rated for children to get them to get into the gambling mindset, because that's what loot boxes are. It is gambling psychology. So you're trying to tell me that a company that is trying to hook kids on gambling cares about your well-being? Absolutely not. They pandered to the wrong people. They should have pandered to 93% of the population that is normal, instead of pandering to 7% of the population that is filled to the brim with mental illness activists that actively hate not only gamers, but they hate America. They hate Western society. They hate everything that is not them, because in their minds, other is bad. This is all business. It is nothing beyond that. When you stick feelings in there, you end up putting this thing where you cease to look at logic. And this is a systemic issue that is in the games industry right now, and AAA especially, where they don't understand that you need to make money. Money doesn't just keep showering in. You had the worst offender last year with Concord, where it was just a terrible game. And you had people there that were like, well, we're too big to fail. And there is no such thing when it comes to these commercial products. Too big to fails for banks, because they're like, well, if I go down, I'm taking all your money with me. And that is not how entertainment products work. We are an entertainment business. We need to entertain as many people as possible if we are building these gigantic games for these publishers that are run by investors. And that is what EA is, and BioWare is under EA. I don't, while I made the mistake before thinking that there would be more layoffs at BioWare, I don't think they can afford to lose any more people. I apologize for throwing that out before and like making that leap of logic. It was bad on my end. Yeah, I'm not sure if Mass Effect's gonna succeed. I am not gonna count on it given their track record. It would be best for the fans of the franchise to have it succeed. Having lost that writing team that's so bad is a bonus, but we see a lot of writers across the entire industry right now that are not good at anything, including writing, that have really jumped into this space because this is the place where they can treat it as their personal therapy session, They can use their self inserts. They can really drive these things into the ground. And they're like, oh, well, this is what people want because I surround myself with other mentally ill people. And this is what we all want. So my hope is that the veterans that have moved on to the Mass Effect team are able to keep that activism at bay. I think you're going to see a lot of investors that are also pushing against it, especially now given the political climate in the United States, where just in the past couple of weeks, we've gone from having a bunch of mentally ill cabinet members in the government to um, basically kicking out a lot of the illogical nonsense. Like I saw one company or one branch, like what was it, a branch? Well, there's one group in the United States government where they had a Slack bot, so that when you'd say things like, "Hey guys, let's do this thing," it would tell you that you were doing a microaggression and say how you should do things better. Um, there's a lot of activism that has popped into large parts of the government that are getting torn out root and stem and are getting humiliated. And this current administration has made it very clear that they plan on pushing that to the private sector, insisting that it is illegal because a lot of this stuff that they're trying to do is illegal. Um, I'm sure we'll talk about it as time goes on. But I think this is all I have to say about BioWare for this moment because they've been cut to the bone. I don't think they can afford to lose any more people. They may need to hire a few more people as time goes on. I don't know who's handling their story if they've laid off all of their writers, but I hope that they find people that actually give a damn about the story, give a damn about making something that's compelling instead of, you know, what they've been doing across the industry. But that's all for today. I will see y'all in a later video. Thank you for your time. Farewell.